Hello, everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast as part of this this audio podcast series, the Erythropoiesis edition. This audio podcast as part of the Hurricane Plexar. This audio podcast as part of the a Labonix Vendip. This audio podcast in as part of another Storm Robotics production. This audio podcast or this audio podcast will highlight a little bit of some of the aims in around this works as part of this series. So uh, the main aims of this works are to identify and establish for example, where drug-induced nephrotoxicity where drug-induced nephrotoxicity occurs in pediatric renal recipients post solid organ transplantation, and to at the same time in line to sort of clinical practices, and where clinical practices sort of link with a sort of pathology and laboratory medicine, to give an understanding of immunosuppression and the importance of the major and importance of the the importance of the major histocompatibility complex, the MHC, and the human leukocyte antigen, human leukocyte antigens or antigen HLA in line with sort of serology immunobiology amongst pediatric renal recipients. And this series, this audio podcast series, there is a hypothesis, if you like, is that it is essential to recognize that reduced nephrotoxic immunosuppression therapy should be available for pediatric renal sufferers so that they allow renal pathophysiology allows allografts to prolong post transplantation, and where literature has informed, for example, where live donation or live solid organ transplantation, the prognosis has been evidenced in around for example 10 years, from 10 years, anything from sort of 10 years to sort of 15 years at sort of base at sort of as a basis, and where literature highlights or informs that cadaveric, in line with cadaveric solid organ transplantation, the prognoses as a basis is or has been in the literature from 10 sorry from 8 anything from 8 years to from 8 years to around 10 years. 10 years. And so the hypothesis as part of this works, the hypothesis as part of this works to was to again to sort of highlight and the basis and around the importance of reduced nephrotoxic immunosuppression in, for example, pediatrics and pediatric renal recipients or pediatric renal sufferers, since in pediatrics in line with in context of transplantation practices or solid organ transplantation, in context of serology, tissue typing, cross matching, etc. The pediatrics unfortunately tend to have to go through more in context of diagnoses, as part of diagnoses, and versus and in context of versus adults or adult recipients tend to tend to go through tend to have to go through, for example, more than one solid organ transplant and we're in this context aligned to sort of aligned to renal in around renal transplantation, where this works looks to sort of delve into. The hypothesis is also, as part of the hypothesis, a basis in around the importance of reduced nephrotoxic immunosuppression, and importance of reduced nephrotoxic immunosuppression. As part of the hypothesis is to thus allow the transplant, thus to see, thus to also see that kidneys in pediatrics, or those pediatrics or young people who are transplanted, have a prognosis in around their transplant, which is anything between 10 years and 20 years, at baseline, with at basis, with reduced nephrotoxic immunosuppression, with reduced nephrotoxic immunosuppression, and aligned to, for example, around the toxicology profile of the varying immunosuppression that pediatrics or young people may have to adhere to as part of the pharmacotherapy. So that draws this audio podcast as part of this erythropoiesis edition, as part of this hurricane Plexar, as part of this Labonix, this Labonix Vendip, and this audio podcast as part of a Storm Labostics production. Thank you.